All right, section 2.3 is on point slope form, and then we'll look at some regression, linear regression with scatter plots. Okay, so point slope form is a way for us to write the equation of a linear function if we are given the slope and at least one point. Okay. So here it says to write a linear equation giving the slope of the line, which is m. Okay, so remember that from last section. The slope is m, and a point that passes through x and y. We use the point slope formula, so that's why we call it point slope, because we have a point and we have the slope. So something that I want to point out here is that we have this y1 and x1, okay, that correlates to the same coordinate point. So this x here belongs to this y. Okay, so those come from the same point. They have to be the matching coordinate pair. And then we have this regular y and this regular x, and those will actually remain as y and x, because in your final equation you still have to have a y and an x, and that's what those ones are there for. So because they don't have subscripts, we know that those are just the y and the x that hang out in the equation there. Okay, so let's practice writing this. So here we have a coordinate pair and we have our slope. So we have y minus y1, so y will always stay y, minus y1, so y1 is going to be this y value from the coordinate point here, which is 7, is equal to m, which here says it's -4, which is equal to, so this is equal to -4, times x is just x, minus x1, okay, so that's the coordinate, that's the other matching pair here, so we have minus -1. Okay, and I kept this in parentheses so that we wouldn't be confused by the minus and the negative. Now we just simplify here. So let's simplify what's in the parentheses first. So we'll leave this side, y minus 7 is equal to -4. And then we have x minus -1, which is the same thing as x plus 1. The next thing we can do is distribute that -4 out front. So y minus 7 is equal to -4x minus 4. And then we'll add the 7 to both sides. We get y is equal to -4x plus 3. So I'll just write that in. We added 7, y equals -4x plus 3. And here is our final equation. All right, number 2, we have, this is x1 and this is y1. So we have y minus y1, which is -5. So y minus -5 is equal to m is 2/3. Times x minus x1. x1 is this -6. So again, I'm keeping the negatives in parentheses so that we don't lose track of what's actually happening here. So if we simplify y minus -5, that's actually y plus 5 is equal to 2/3 times x minus -6 is actually x plus 6. Then we'll distribute that 2/3. So we have y plus 5 is equal to 2/3 x plus 2/3 times 6. So we have 2 times 6 is 12 over 3. Let's simplify this some more. We have y plus 5 is equal to 2/3 x plus 12/3 is actually 12 divided by 3, which is 4. And then we'll subtract 5 from both sides. We'll get y is equal to 2/3 x minus 1. And there is that. Okay, so that is if you're given one point and the slope. Now we're looking at writing an equation if we're given 2 points, which is x1, y1, and x2, y2. We'll use the slope formula, and then we'll use the point slope formula. Okay, so if we're only given 2 points and no slope, we can use the 2 points to actually find the slope using this equation here. And then once we get this, so this is equal to m, once we get this, we plug this into m here for the point slope formula. Okay, so Just taking a look at this, I just want to remind you that this y2 and x2, these two go with each other. So this is one coordinate pair together, and the y1 and x1 go with each other. This is a coordinate pair together. So it doesn't matter which point you choose to be your x1, y1 or x2, y2. It just matters that they are always going to be paired together, okay? Because if you mix them up, then you won't get the proper equation that you need. All right, so let's look at this. So I'm just going to say this is x1 and y1, and we'll just make this x2 and y2. Okay, so like I said, it doesn't matter which is which as long as you pick one and you stick with it. So according to this formula, we do y2 first, which is 7, minus y1, which is 1. 7 minus 1 over, let's see, x2, negative 3, minus x1, which is negative 6. Okay, so let's just, I'm going to just move this up. Let's simplify this. 7 minus 1 is 6. And then negative 3 minus negative 6 is actually negative 3 plus 6, which is positive 3. And then simplifying 6 over 3, that's equal to 2. So this is your m. And then we can pick whatever point we want to put into point slope form. I'm just going to choose this first one here because it really doesn't matter as long as I use the x and y that are paired with each other. So we have y minus y1, which is 1, is equal to m, which is 2, times x minus x1, which is negative 6. So all that matters is that I paired 1 with negative 6, just like it's up there. So that's all we're looking for here. Let's do some simplifying. Y minus 1 is equal to 2 times x minus negative 6 is x plus 6. Distributing that 2, we get y minus 1 is equal to 2x plus 12. And then we'll just add this 1. Y is equal to 2x plus 13. And there is our formula. There's our formula for that equation, for the line that passes through these 2 points. All right, so looking at number 4, let's find the line that passes through these 2 points. I'm going to say this is x1 and y1, x2 and y2. Okay, so our formula for slope, since it wasn't given to us, we have to calculate it. y2 minus y1, which is 8 minus negative 2, over x2 minus x1, which is negative 6 minus negative 2. Let's simplify this. That's 8 minus negative 2 is 8 plus 2, which is 10. Negative 6 minus negative 2 is negative 6 plus 2, which is negative 4. 10 over negative 4, we can just put the negative out front, and then 10 over 4, we can divide each by 2, we get 5. Negative 5 halves. And that is equal to m, so we'll put this into our formula. Y minus y1, which is negative 2, is equal to negative 5 halves times x minus x1, which is negative 2. And then doing some simplifying, y plus 2 is equal to negative 5 halves times x plus 2. Distributing that 5 halves, y plus 2 is equal to negative 5 halves x minus negative 5 times 2 is negative 10 over 2 is negative 5 here. And then we'll subtract 2, we get y is equal to negative 5 halves x minus 7. Okay, what I want to do here is I want to take some time to actually do this whole same process, but I want to use x2 and y2. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch these. Okay, so I'm going to call this one x2 and y2, and this one x1 and y1. And I'm going to do the whole thing over using these values, switching these up to show you that it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to move this over a little bit so I have some more room. Okay, so let's see. I might run out of room here, but I'll try to write a little bit smaller. Okay, so switching these up. To find our slope, I'm going to do y2 minus y1, which is negative 2, minus 8 over x1 minus x2, which is negative 6 minus negative 2. No, x2. X2 is -2. See, this is where it's important that we keep them together. So we have x2, which is -2, minus x1, which is -6. Here we go. So -2 minus 8 is going to be -10. And then -2 minus -6 is -2 plus 6, which is +4. Again, we can just put the negative out front. 10 over 4, if we divide each by 2, we get 5/2. Okay, so we can already see that our m is the same, even though we switched which point was going to be 1 and which point was going to be 2. Okay, and now I'm going to use the -6, 8 as my point for point slope form. So we have y minus y1, which is 8, is equal to m, which is -5/2 times x minus x1, which here is -6. Doing some simplifying, we have y minus 8 is equal to -5/2 times x plus 6. And then y minus 8 is equal to -5/2 x minus, let's see, 5 times 6 is 30, divided by 2 is 15. Let's add 8 to both sides. We get y is equal to -5/2 x minus 7, which is the same as that one there. Okay, so I just wanted to do that so that you guys knew it doesn't matter which one you use where, as long as you keep the coordinate pairs together. I will point out that it does matter that you have the y's on top here and the x's on bottom here for the slope. That is important. You have to have the y's on top. But it doesn't matter the order as long as you keep them the same. All right, number 5. Same thing here. We have 2 points, so let's find the slope here. So I'm just going to call this point 1 and point 2. So y2 minus y1, -8 minus -5 over x2 minus x1, 1 minus 10. -8 minus -5 is -8 plus 5, which is -3. And then 1 minus 10 is -9. A negative and a negative makes a positive. 3 over 9, we can divide both by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3, so we have positive 1/3 for our slope. We'll do for our equation here, y minus y1, which is 10. That's equal to 1/3 times x minus x1, which is -5. Simplifying, y minus 10 is equal to 1/3 times x plus 5. Let's distribute that 1/3 there. We get 1/3 x plus 5/3. Okay, this is actually supposed to be a minus, not an equals. Adding 10, we add 10, so y is equal to 1/3 x, and then we're adding this 5/3 and 10 here. We need to find a common denominator. We have 5/3 plus 10. To make 10, so this is 10 over 1, to make 10 a fraction with a denominator of 3, we have to multiply the top and bottom by 3. So this is actually going to be 5/3 plus 30/3, which is equal to 35 over 3. So our final here should be 1/3 x plus 35 over 3. Okay, number 6. So finding the slope here, we'll call this 1 and 2. y2, -3 minus y1, also -3, over x2, -2 minus x1, -8. -3 minus -3 is -3 plus 3, which is equal to 0. And 0 divided by anything we know is equal to 0, but we can still calculate this. -2 minus -8 is -2 plus 8, which is 6. Still, 0 divided by 6, or 0 over 6, is equal to 0. So our slope is equal to 0. And then we'll do our formula, y minus y1, which is negative 3. That is equal to m, which is 0, times x minus x1, which is negative 8. Okay, so we know this is y plus 3 is equal to 0 times whatever is going to be in here. It doesn't matter what it ends up being. It's going to be 0. And then we can subtract 3. So here we have y is equal to negative 3. And we know that y is equal to negative 3. This is a horizontal line. Just pointing that out for fun there. Okay. All right, linear equation application, slope-intercept form. Okay, so it looks like the next several problems are going to be word problems here. Okay, and there's like an A and B part. I think it's write the equation and then calculate something, all right? So we have a cab ride cost $4 plus $1.75 per mile driven. Okay, so per means multiplication. Mile driven seems like this is going to be our variable here of x, or whatever we choose our variable to be. Write an equation to represent the cab fare. Define your variables. Okay, so we want to represent cab fare. So let's say C is equal to cab fare. And a cab ride costs $4 plus. So per mile driven, that was our other. So this is our independent variable and our dependent variable. Okay, so this would be normally would be x, and this would be y. But in word problems, it's always much easier to use different letters other than x and y, so that you really know what you're talking about. So for our y, we're using C for cab fare, and our x, I'm just going to use m for mile driven. Okay, so it looks like our cab fare is equal to $4 plus 1.75 times m. So for every mile we drive, we multiply it by 1.75, and then we have to add our $4 like base fee there. Okay, so here is our equation. If Clay's destination is 17 miles away, so our miles are 17, and he has $30, will he make it? Okay, so our equation we said was C is equal to 4 plus 1.75 m. Okay, and here we said that m is 17, so C is equal to 4 plus 1.75 times 17, which is equal to 4 plus 29.75, which is equal to 33.75. And this is cab fare, so this is in dollars. And he only has $30, so the answer is no. He will not make it. I'm just going to put no. Nope. Sorry, Clay. Gotta get out early. Okay. Let's see. Number 8. The Joneses are purchasing a new home. Closing costs are $249 plus 3% of the purchase price of the home. Okay. Write an equation to represent total closing costs and define your variable. So we'll say, so represent total closing costs. So total closing costs, this is going to be our Y, our output, and we'll name that C again. So this is total closing costs. And the closing costs, that's hard to say, are they are this $249 plus 3% of the purchase price. Okay, so whatever the purchase price is, so when I say whatever, that means that this is a question mark. This is a variable, which would be like our x variable. We're taking 3% of that. So our x variable, we're going to label P for purchase price. And we can put it together. So closing costs are equal to $249 plus 3% of, if we remember of means multiplication. not x, but that's multiplication. So if we are representing 3%, when we're multiplying, we have to divide by 100. So that's 0.3% of our purchase price. Okay, so whatever our purchase price is, we take 3% of that, and then we add it to $249. That's what our closing costs are. The purchase price of their home is $195,000. The sellers offered $5,000 in closing cost assistance. Will this cover all of their closing costs? If not, how much will the Jones need to pay out of pocket? Okay, so let's just answer this question first. Will this cover all of their closing costs? So what is their closing costs? So we said we define this as C is equal to 249 plus 0.3 times the purchase price, which here the purchase price is $195,000. So C is equal to 249 plus 0.3 times 195,000. This is equal to 249 plus 5850, and then if we add those together, we get $6,099. Okay, so they offered $5,000 in assistance. Will this cover it? So this says no, it does not cover it. Okay, and the second question is, how much will they need to pay out of pocket? So what's the difference between $6,099 and $5,000? Well, we can find out by subtracting here. $6,099 minus $5,000, and that is equal to $1,099. So this is how much they will have to pay out of pocket. All right, number 9, a 22.5 ounce candle burns at the rate of 1 ounce every 5 hours. Okay, every 5 hours seems like our independent variable here. Write an equation to represent the amount of candle left and define your variables. Okay, so we're representing the amount of candle left. That's our y here. So C is equal to amount left. Okay, and then our every 5 hours, so we'll say H is our hours. Okay, so every 5 hours, and we want to be able to put in just 1 hour, however many hours. So we're actually going to divide that by 5 to say for every hour, this is how much is left. Okay, so the amount left, so the amount we start with is 22.5 ounces, so 22.5, and then we're losing candle for every hour. And to represent every hour, we're going to say 1/5 H, because we're looking at 1 ounce every 5 hours. All right, so there's our equation here. How many hours will the candle last? Okay, so if we have amount, so will the candle last? So that means how many hours until there's no candle left. So amount left is 0. So we said here our equation is C is equal to 22.5 minus 1/5 H. If we make C equal to 0, because there's no candle left, 0 equals 22.5 minus 1/2 H. I'm going to add 1/2 H to both sides. I'm sorry, 1/5 H to both sides. So then we have 1/5 H is equal to 22.5. We want to get H by itself because we're asked how many hours. That's what we're trying to find. So we'll multiply both sides by 5. We see that this 1/5 and 5 cancels out. And then we're left with H is equal to 112. 112.5 hours. So after 112.5 hours, there will be no candle remaining. All right, so there's 3 questions there. And the last 3 questions, it looks like we're looking at applications of these, but we're looking at it in standard form. So if we remember, standard form was AX plus BY is equal to C. Okay, so we have our variables here. They might not always be X and Y. But that is kind of like what we had initially said they were going to be. Okay, so Josh bought 3 bags of potting soil and 10 bags of mulch from Home Depot. Okay, so we have 3 bags of potting soil, and, which means plus 10 bags of mulch from Home Depot. Write an equation to represent the total costs. So we want to know T is our total cost. So how do we find the total cost? Well, what did he spend money on? Well, he spent money on bags of potting soil, which we can represent with P is potting soil. And he also bought mulch, which we will use M to represent. So so these were actually talking about the cost of. So the cost of potting soil and the cost of mulch is what those variables actually represent. And we had 3 bags of the potting soil plus 10 bags of mulch, and that is equal to the total cost. So the cost of the potting soil times 3 and the cost of the mulch times 10 will equal the total cost of when he went to Home Depot. So if Josh spent $40.91 and mulch cost $2.75 per bag, how much was a bag of potting soil? Okay, so he spent this much. So this is equal to the total cost. Okay, and then this 2.75 is the cost of mulch. So we said 3 times the cost of the potting soil plus 10 times the cost of mulch is equal to the total cost. Well, we're trying to find out how much was the bag of potting soil, which is P by itself. Okay, so 3P plus 10, we said M was 2.75. That is equal to 40.91. And now we just solve. So 3P plus 27.5 is equal to 40.91. We'll subtract 27.5 from both sides. Then we get 3P is equal to 13.41. We'll divide by 3. Divide by 3. We get P is equal to 4.47. Okay, so potting soil is equal to $4.47 per bag. There is our answer. All right, number 11. Kaylee has a collection of quarters and nickels. Write an equation to represent the total value of the coins. Okay, so we'll say total, T, we'll use T to represent total. Let's see. We'll use quarters and nickels, so Q to represent the number of quarters. And then N to represent the number of nickels. Okay, and we're talking about the total value, so like money-wise. And so we know that quarters are 25 cents, so we'll say 0.25 cents per quarter, plus nickels are 5 cents, so 0.05 times the number of nickels. That will give you your total cost here. Okay, if the total value of the coins is $5.50 and Kaylee has 17 quarters, how many nickels does she have? Okay, so again, our equation is 0.25 Q quarters times the number of quarters plus 0.05 times the number of nickels equals T. So we said that the total value was $5.5 and the number of quarters is 17. So we have 0.25. The number of quarters is 17. plus 0.05, the number of nickels, which is what we're after, that is equal to 5.50. Okay, so let's multiply this out. We get 4.25 plus 0.05n is equal to 5.50. We can subtract 4.25 from both sides. We get 0.05n is equal to 1.25, and then we'll divide both sides by 0.05, so n is equal to 25. So she has 25 nickels. All right, last problem here. The baseball concession stand sells soft pretzels for $4.50 and bags of popcorn for $3.25. Write an equation to represent total sales from pretzels and popcorn on a given day. Okay, so T is equal to total sales. We'll say P is equal to the number of pretzels sold. And pretzels and popcorn, soft pretzels, so let's actually use S instead. Yeah, we'll say S is the number of soft pretzels sold, and P is a number of popcorn bags sold. Okay, so we have 4.50 for soft pretzels. So 4.5 times the number of soft pretzels plus 3.25 times the number of popcorn bags sold is equal to total sales. All right. So if the concession stand sold 137 soft pretzels, how many bags of popcorn would they need to sell to make at least 1,000? So we have again 4.50 S plus 3.25 P equal to T. Well, they sold 137 soft pretzels, so we can say 4.50 times 137. That will give them the sales from soft pretzels. From soft pretzels. Then they're asking how many bags of popcorn. So we're going to leave this as it is, and then they want to make at least $1,000. So they want their total cost to be 1,000. And instead of saying equal to, they want at least. So they can have more, right? So we want to say the total sales from all this has to be greater than or equal to $1,000. It can be more than, but they want at least 1,000. So 1,000 or more. They don't want less than. Okay, so then let's do this multiplying. This is 616.50 plus 3.25p. This still has to be less than or equal to 1,000. Okay, so remember, solving a linear inequality is just like solving a linear equation unless you're multiplying or divided by a negative number. We don't have any negatives here. We're going to subtract 616.5 from each side. Then we'll get 3.25p is less than or equal to 383.50. 383.50. Okay, and then to get p by itself, we're going to divide by 3.25, divide by 3.25. We get p is greater than or equal to 118. So that means they have to sell at least 118 bags of popcorn in order to make their $1,000 there.